Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Welcome to the Real Estate Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have somebody that's a powerhouse in real estate, but also in social media, Mr. Sam Primm. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well, Ricardo. Excited to jam with you here for a little bit.
Yeah, let's get it, man. Sam, tell me, brother, where are you from originally?
St. Louis, Missouri, the most exciting place in the country. Now, it's a good place to do real estate, but it's probably not the most exciting place in the country.
You know what? You can make it exciting, man. I remember in 2021, I went to St. Louis to an event with Sean McCloskey.
Mm-hmm.
And at that event, Don Costa showed up. Anywhere with Don shows up, man, it's fun. And then Philip Vincent was there, which he's probably your neighbor. You guys are in the same city. There's who else was the other guy? And man, I don't know. It was like 4 or 5 of us at that event, and they showed me some weird places in St. Louis.
Where'd they take? Did they take you to the east side?
That I don't know where I was. But I remember we were drinking probably until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe even later. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, Philip Vincent, and I'm trying to remember the name of this other guy. He's out there in St. Louis too. He used to be actually one of my clients. We did these positions for him. They were doing like a push-up. And this is a hole in the wall bar, man. Like, you know, they closed the bar, but you can stay inside drinking. It was one of those places. But actually, Damon Ramey's out there too, although he was not at that bar that day. He was not at that bar
in St. Louis. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know how strong the real estate community was in St. Louis until I went to that one event with Sean, right? And how many big players were in it. Like, you know, because they were all doing deals, each one of them on their own lane. The guys from REI Primm are there too, you know, Ryan Dixon and all of those guys. So St. Louis, Missouri. And did you go to school there? Did you graduate high school there? Tell me a little bit about your upbringings.
Yeah, so I grew up here in St. Louis, and I always like to say it's like the middle class Midwest. That's like I was your prototypical, you know, Midwesterner. You know, we didn't turn on the AC in summer, use the attic fan, you know, just like a normal, like, you know, normal upbringing, nothing special. Went to high school here, went to college down in Springfield, Missouri, which is a few hours away, and moved back to St. Louis with the plans to work for someone else until I was 65, just like my dad did. And I started investing in real estate on the side a couple years into the quote unquote real world. Really got hooked.
How do you stumble into real estate? Because so you were at W2.
Yep.
When you jumped, me too, brother. And I don't hate on W2 people, by the way. Like, I tell them they need to stack up on rentals. So how do you stumble into real estate?
Well, it's almost not embarrassing, Ricardo. It's just so like not cool. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad and started to kind of open my mind up to the potential different avenues to create more income. And yeah, that was it. And my goal is to buy 1 rental a year for 10 years and have 10 rentals at the end of 10 years. So that was my original plan. It wasn't even to quit my job, but I got addicted to the game.
And what kind of job do you have?
I was in sales. I was selling Caterpillar construction equipment, actually, and I enjoyed it, and it gave me some freedom and paid well.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Selling tractors and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was cool. The big ass tractors.
Yeah, we have a Caterpillar plant down here in Texas by Victoria, and that thing is huge, man. And I've done a lot of deals over there, though. It's a good town to do deals, by the way, because there is a lot of that blue collar, middle class, very strong on rentals and owner finance, and I love it. So Caterpillar is kind of like the main driver around there. Plus, it's in between Houston and Mexico, so I'm pretty sure trains and stuff like that stop by it, and that's what makes it so appealing. But so you had a job, you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. You're like, I'm on quadrant number 2. I want to go to 3 and 4, right? I need to buy some rentals. So tell me about did you take any real estate courses before that, or or you based it
So
off a book?
no, I jumped in. I went off that book and jumped in, and at the time, I was just starting my job, so I ended up making pretty good money before I quit, but when I started investing in real estate, I was just kind of getting by. I had maybe 4 grand in my savings account, so I knew you could borrow money to flip. I watched Flip or Flop and those shows on HGTV where they borrowed money from somebody, flipped, and split the profit. So I knew you could do that, but I wanted to add rentals, but I didn't have 20% down. So I didn't even know about refinancing or the BRRRR method when I got started. So I bought a house with a private lender's money, and I was planning to flip it and then take the profits and put 20% down. Right. So I thought for every one rental I was going to have to buy, I was going to have to buy 2 houses, one for the down payment, one for the actual rental. But during that rehab process, I went to a local meetup and somebody told me, hey, you can just do a cash out refinance and pay back your private lender. And that completely blew my mind. So I had a little bit of like thought process and vision, but I didn't even know about the bird method when I got started. And that was like, holy crap, every single rental I can buy, I can keep without having to put 20% down. And that's when I started stepping on the gas.
Wow. So, and what about the rehab portion? Did you know how to rehab a house? How did that go?
Not really. No, I'm not handy. I wouldn't say I'm handy, Ricardo. I did like the demo, the painting, the landscaping. I did as much of it as I could because quick numbers. I bought a house with the private lender's money for 77 grand. It needed 40 grand worth of work, but the private lender only gave me 100 grand. So I had to make a 40 grand rehab, a 20 grand rehab by doing the work myself. And I hired out, some of the things that I couldn't do. And I was just going to Craigslist or an app called Thumbtack to try to get contractors and really just piecing it together. Super inefficient. But I got 3-month rehab done in about 7 months. So, it could be worse, but just, you're a rookie mistakes as far as, holding too long. And, I ended up getting it done and ended up working out, but yeah, it was anything but efficient.
How long ago was this?
This was 2014, end of 2014. So going on about 10 years now.
Yeah. So you and I have a very similar the way we got in, because I got in by watching Flip This House. I used to work in the oil field, and I worked offshore, so I made multiple 6 figures. I had money, and I was looking for a way to invest, and I saw that show, and I was like, wait a minute, that guy just made 50 grand on a flip that took him 3 months, and it was Armando Montelongo actually. And I knew he had a book, so I went and bought the book. I had already read Rich Dad Poor Dad long time ago. But I just didn't know. I really like my job too. I was like, I really enjoy my job. And I was like, very hard for me to quit my job. I never quit my job. They actually laid me off years later. And I bought my first property, and man, this is in 2008. And every contractor that was a thug showed up on that job, dude. And I don't know how much money I ended up spending. Like, I spent probably the double of the rehab, and I had to learn how to paint. I had to learn how to do drywall. I had to learn how to do texture, put laminate flooring together, because I had to do the sweat equity. And luckily for me, I had an uncle that was very handy, and he was helping me get through the rehab. I even worked on the foundation because this was a pier and beam home. So I figure if I take all the flooring out, I can get underneath and put some jacks and replace whatever truss were. Like, I did all of that. I got me in Texas to be a licensed contractor. You don't need a license; you just need an insurance. So I went and got the insurance for it, and there you go. I'm a GC, but I'm a GC that knows really barely nothing about a rehab. So it took me a whole year, man, to get that property done. And
You're a wild man.
I had to. I had no other choice. I ran out of money. My money was stolen. You know what I mean? Like, like, what do I do? I'm stuck with a rehab half-ass now. So, I mean, I couldn't rent it or sell it. And let's face it, it's 2009 now, and going into 2010, there's no loans. There's no banks approving anybody for anything. So I ended up renting that house, and then I sold it 4 years later. But it was it took you 7 months. And this is the things that I want people to hear is like, guys, you're gonna go through struggles one way or another. We just don't know when. Maybe your first rehab is perfect, but rehab number 10, that's when the problems show up or whatever, and the things that are unannounced, right? So you ended up refinancing that first property and you rented it out, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And roughly, what was the cash flow on it?
So the interesting thing about this one, this goes to show you the power of private lenders, Ricardo. So I ended up having right at like a little less than 100,000 in it, and it appraised for 125,000. So I did an 80% cash out refinance. So I had 100,000 to give my private lender. So he got his principal back plus like $1,000 in interest, but I owed him like 4 or 5 more grand, and I
Right.
didn't have it. But I've been communicating with him. We actually had another deal under contract that was a home run that he funded, and he let me pay him the interest from the first deal and the second deal at, of course, a higher rate, right? He
Of
wasn't doing it
course.
for free. But this deal ended up cash flowing the first one about $250 a month. And this shows you the power of real estate, which you know, but it was worth 125,000 in 2015. I owed 100,000. Right now, it just appraised for 260,000.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, I owe 60,000. So the cash flow is great. The $250 a month. We've had 2 tenants in 10 years, so we've been cash flowing really well. But it's 200 grand in equity that I created out of nothing with none of my own money when I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So it's just a perfect example, and I still do own it to this day, and probably will always own it, just to show the power of just a little bit of time compounding with real estate.
The beautiful thing about that, Sam, is that it doesn't matter how old you are, okay? You can be 60 years old, and maybe life went by you and you didn't really accumulate the wealth you wanted, or you don't have any money. There's a lot of people in that position in today's world, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But somebody that's 60, what's the lifespan today? 75, 77, 80, something, depending on genes, lifestyle, things like that, right? But let's say 75 years old. You still got 15 years ahead of you to go do those 10 houses you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 houses, if you do 1 per year or 2 per year, which is very possible to do as a beginner, you're still die a millionaire, because they're most likely going to double in value, if not triple in some cases. Even if we have a bad economy and prices dip and equity disappears, you still have an asset that's producing, because with bad economies, rents go up. Because there's more renters, period. There's no, like, it's proven. Go back to 2008. I always tell people, you want to look at a bad economy, go back to 2008. What happened to rents? They shoot up, because there's too many people losing their homes to ARM mortgages and things that weren't affordable anymore, and they had to live somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
supply and demand. It's all
supply and demand. And now, I personally don't enjoy being a landlord. Do you enjoy being a landlord?
I don't mind it. I would just, the only reason I'm going to tell you that is because I haven't attended, we manage our own properties. I haven't attended a property management meeting in 2 years. So I used to not love all of the, because we have 300 doors. So we have, I don't
Right.
know, 500 or 600 tenants that we have to deal with, but I
Right.
don't deal with them, is the nice part. So I didn't love it when I was having to like be involved and approve and, maintenance and all the stuff that everybody does when they start their own business, because they do everything. But now I don't mind it as much. I enjoy the benefits of it. And the biggest thing for me, we didn't even talk about, Ricardo, it's the tax savings.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I do okay for myself, right? And I just filed my 2024 taxes, and I'm getting money back, and I didn't. So I you know what I mean? So just a little bit, but I'm not, everything I make, I keep, which is I think the number one reason to invest in real estate. Everybody likes cash flow and equity, but tax savings, man, I don't like giving my money to somebody else.
That's why when President Trump and what was the other president, Romney, and all of those guys. Oh, well, Romney was never a president, but he was running for it.
Mm-hmm.
People were talking about their taxes, like, but they're not paying taxes. They only pay 11% taxes. Guess why?
Yeah,
Because they're real estate investors.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because they didn't want to pay taxes. Like otherwise they will be in jail. The IRS is going to put them behind bars, right? So that's what attracted a lot of my friends in the oil and gas business to become real estate investors, because one day we were having a chat about how much money they were paying in taxes. And I was just laughing, sipping my coffee. And they're like, "Why are you laughing? You make more money than us. You should be paying a lot more than more than us." And I was like, "No, I don't. I actually get money back every year." And they're like, "How do you get money back? Are you scamming?" I was like, "Yeah, we're real estate. I'm a
Legal way to
landlord.
do
I
it.
got all these deductions. I got all these businesses that are legitimate. And, I file my taxes. And every year they say that, they need to send me some money back."
Yep.
And they got very interested into that. And that's how they started becoming landlords very fast. So I would say I got maybe 5 to 10 guys out of where I used to work, and today they're millionaires thanks to that. Now they're not as hungry as you are as far as going and getting 300 rentals or anything like that. I stopped at 107 at some point, and then I got rid of a bunch of them because I just didn't enjoy the whole landlording thing. It's not for everybody, and you got to have systems and processes, which is something I want to talk to you about now. What sort of systems and processes do you have to manage all those doors?
All right, so we, like everybody else, I sound like we sound very professional when I'm going to give you this answer, but probably better than anybody, it takes a while to get to the point of having the systems. So this didn't come easily, but right now, I'll just break it down how we have it set up now. So I have me and a business partner. He's been my buddy since middle school. Went to high school, college together. Really good friends. We own everything together, just us two, and we have 4 businesses, and all of those businesses have a COO over them. So each of those businesses have somebody. Everybody reports to those COOs, and then those COOs report to us, depending on how we split up the tasks. So we have a property management company that manages my 300 doors plus about 300 more. And there's a COO that runs that. And then we have our flipping company that flips 50 houses a year and wholesales 250 houses a year. We have a COO that runs that. We have my education company that I'm mainly involved in. The COO runs that. And then we have a rehab and construction company now that we started because we were already doing it. So might as well, expand a little bit, do it for other people. It's not super profitable, but it allows us to keep our costs down. So those are our 4 companies. And basically we've groomed people to run them. The day-to-day, the big decisions we're involved in, but other than that, we're not involved. So it's just one of those things where you just kind of delegate and separate so that you can focus on the bigger picture. And that took us several years, but we've been running that model for about 2 years now. And it's been pretty nice. It makes me be okay with flipping or wholesaling 250, 300 houses a year because I don't have to deal with the day-to-day of it.
So I'm taking it you guys are fully integrated.
Yep.
Because the wholesale company sells to the flipping company. The flipping company either flips it or sells it to the rental company. Right?
Well, yeah, the flipping company either wholesales it to somebody else or the renovation company that we own rehabs it, and then we either sell it or keep it as a rental, and then we manage it. So we get a little piece of the pie with a deal all the way across the board, assuming we end up keeping it or whatever point we exit. And then it allows us to create scalability and systems with those companies that now we can take on outside people. Like I have 2,200 students in my community. They're not all in St. Louis. They're in all 50 states.
Right.
A lot of them are in St. Louis, and a lot of them invest in St. Louis. Guess what? Now we have them as students, so I get paid there. We sell them houses from our flipping company. We get
Right.
paid there. We rehab if they want us to, and we manage if they want us to. They don't always want us to do everything, but it's not turnkey because they're buying it, but we're just managing the process with them, kind of.
Are
So
you
it's kind of like,
rehabbing virtually? are you rehabbing in other
no,
states?
just so only if it's in St. Louis. We're only rehabbing if it's in St. Louis. We have the contractors, we have the actual work that we employ ourselves, and then the connection. So we only will rehab and manage here in St. Louis.
So your students, they may be out of town, but they may have rentals in St. Louis.
A lot of them do, and that's the hardest thing about virtual investing is boots on the ground that you trust, right?
Yes.
Real estate, buy, rent, like property management. That's all easy remotely, but it's starting from the ground up with boots on the ground that you trust, and that's why a lot of people do end up investing in St. Louis just because we're here. And I don't know, of the 250 houses we're going to wholesale this year, I bet we sell 50 or 60 to students. So nothing crazy, but a good number.
No, hey, that actually 50 to 60, it's a very good business for a wholesaler, right? What's the average assignment on those properties?
Probably it's smaller market like St. Louis, probably 15K, maybe 15 to 20 is probably the assignment fee is
That's
the
still
average. So nothing
very
huge.
So for me, it's the same. Like our average assignment is 17.5 nationwide. We do nationwide. So, but we do it. We don't do it through PPC. We don't do it through, we do it through texting, cold calling, and things like that. So that's not actually for St. Louis. That's not bad. That's actually good. I would expect it for you to say maybe 8,000, something like that, right? Because of the price points. So your ARVs there are 200 to 300 grand. Probably that's the sweet spot, right? You're not doing 400, $500,000 homes, are you?
No, not very often. Occasionally, I mean, St. Louis has a decent amount of those. There's nicer areas of St. Louis. I know most people think of like some of the worst areas, but I mean, I would say our average ARV on our property, whether we're flipping it or wholesaling it, you're pretty damn close. I'd say between 3 and 400 maybe. And we have a really good, we got a really good reputation. We host meetups. We have a really good reach as far as who we sell to. We know so we are able to maximize our wholesales and get close to that 15. We're probably 15 to maybe 17K on our wholesales, and probably maybe 25 to 35 on our flip. So nothing crazy. I mean, we've had 100K wholesales very rarely, and we've had 100K flip profits, but again, those are rare. It's more of that lower, which
I've only
we just
done a
look at the
couple of
value.
those. I've only done a couple of those.
Yeah, we don't do very often. A couple times a year maybe.
Yeah, not like Jonas. Shout
No,
out to
not like
Jonas.
his smallest deal beats my biggest, but that's all right. It's all perspective.
But he's one of your students, right?
Yep. Yep. He's inside the social media side. Yep.
Yeah, so check this out, guys. So now I don't know if he learned real estate from you or not, and I don't think so, because I had him on my podcast at some point, and he kind of told. So you might want to go back and watch Jonas on the podcast, and about his story. But that's the beautiful thing, right? Jonas is out there making big profits on these deals that are multiple six figures, and yet he's in Sam's community as a student, and and he's also a peer. But he's a student of the social media, which we're gonna get into it in a little bit. Because we don't have it all figured out, man. There's something I want to learn a bunch of things from you. We have a lot of similarities. I don't flip anymore like I used to, and I used to do 47 flips at a time, and I was fully integrated. Yeah, fully integrated, and that's why I asked you earlier, are you fully I'm assuming this is how you're doing it, because that's what I used to do. The one thing I didn't do is I didn't have students at the time. I didn't care for the education. I didn't think I had enough time for it, because I wasn't delegated enough. My business partner was not really a delegator. I was a delegator, but he was not, and so that was kind of like where the choke point. He was the COO, but I was a CEO that was very in the business, going from rehab to rehab to rehab. And but we had a hurricane in 2017 that came to Houston, and we had those 47 flips going, and it was a disaster, man. Like,
Wow.
we lost our asses on that. And it wasn't because the hurricane messed up the properties. It was because we lost our crews. So imagine if you had all your rehabs right now. How many rehabs do you guys handle at a time, roughly?
I would say 15 to 20.
There you go. That's a good size, rehab.
Not 47, but yeah, decent.
But still, like the difference in between going from 20 to 47, it's just more people. Because the private money, you probably have private money you're not using right now, because it's or lenders and that are on standby, because you probably don't have enough deals to fund, and if you do, you don't have enough people to work on those deals. Otherwise, you will be doing 47 deals, not 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's how you get there, pretty much. It's like, oh shit, I got all these houses. I'm gonna go buy them. I'm just gonna go get more crews. But imagine if all your crews walked away from you tomorrow because there is something weird happening in St. Louis, and now you got all those private money payments, and you cannot rehire them for another 18 to 20 months.
That would be really, really bad.
That's happened to me.
Yeah.
So I went from having a lot of money in the bank to not having $50 to put on my wife's truck to fill it up to fill up the tank. Hey, but you know what? That's part of business. That what would I do? I've done before. Number one, at that time, I was not on any masterminds, and I didn't know anybody that was on my level, so I didn't have anybody to talk to. Hey, Sam, what would you do in this situation? I have 47 private money loans, over 200 grand a month on payments, and they're due every month. And yeah, I have money, but what if I can't finish these properties? Like, maybe you could have, or somebody that it's doing that much volume could have guided me into navigating those waters better. My deal was I signed up for those commitments. I'm going to honor those commitments and I'm going to pay them anyways because I got money in the bank. The next thing you know, that money disappears after a period of time, because if there's no money coming in. Oh, and by the way, when the properties were done, the equity disappeared because now there's 300,000 homes flooded in Houston getting rehab to go back on the market. So it adjusted completely. So something that was worth 300 now is worth 200.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks prettier than mine. And so you're like, what do you do there? Right. So I would have been on a mastermind. I would have had a mentor. I grew there by winging it pretty much. So today I would be more connected. Like I would be picking up the phone and calling a bunch of other people that I know now. And that was a lot thanks to family and things like, guys on CG and stuff like that are running large operations. But yeah, congratulations on all your success and all the work you're doing, man. And that's a lot of lanes to keep tabs on. How do you go from, all right, we got an education company that's successful, we have a flipping company that's successful, we have a wholesaling operation running, and it's successful? Because it's very hard to get one running the right way, bro. Like, you got like 4 or 5 of them into, like, all right, let's dabble into, or let's do social media because now I want to get known or I want to put out a message. Whatever the case was, how is it? What was in your mind when you said I'm going to get into social media?
Well, one thing, you're assuming they're all like humming on a like, like maximize. They're, we have up and down months with them. I don't think we've had yet to all 4 of them crush at the same time. Maybe it's because we're doing too many. I don't know, but it's nice to have kind of the split up of the needed cash flow for me or the businesses. If one's struggling, the other one's doing well. So it is one of those.
No. Bro, I know. Like, I've been there. Like, so
Yeah.
So it's not. I'm not saying all of 4 of them are crushing it, but they coexist and they feed each other.
They do, and they work well. But I just want to let everybody know, it's ups and downs. But as far as the social media goes, it's similar to when you and I were talking before we went on. It was kind of out of demand or request. So I remember I spoke at our local meetup here in St. Louis. Lucas and I did, about how my business partner, how we went from 0 to 100 doors in 5 years. With jobs for the most of that time. And people just ate that up, and we were getting messaged, and people, like almost everybody attended, was DMing us, asking us questions. So then I created like just a business Facebook at the time. This was 2019-20 timeframe, just so I could keep them separate. So like, all right, I answer questions here, and then we posted a little bit about what we were doing. And surprisingly enough, if you actually do it, if you actually walk the walk and talk the talk, like, people respect that. Like, all these people are faking these followers and these likes and faking their deals and making up numbers and pretending like they're bigger than they are. We just talked about what we did, and it worked really well. And I started to really, really get a niche for it. We started to get hundreds of thousands of followers. That was when social media was blowing up, right? That 20, 21, 22, 23 timeframe. And then out of just people DMing me, hey, can you teach me? Can you coach me? You seem real. You seem authentic. You seem like a normal guy. You're doing what I want to do. Can you teach me? I'll pay you. So I'm like, all right. So then at that point, Lucas was like, all right, you focus on the flipping. I'm going to try to take on this new venture. So delegate to my business partner. You got that. I'm going to like step away from this. That frees up my time to create this education program, this mentorship, grow my following. And that's honestly what I've been focusing on for the past 3 years now, just because there's my potential is almost unlimited with education, as far as, all across the country, every state, every city. The flipping company has this limitation. So it kind of organically, honestly, just happened, pun intended, with the organic social media, but it really organically just happened.
Yeah, when I was flipping, we own everything. We own the trucks, we own the dumpsters. I mean, do you own any dumpsters right now?
We don't know. We talked about, but we have not yet. Do you?
Brothers, if you got 20 rehabs going on, do the math on how much money on dumpsters you're spending.
Probably. Yeah, probably should. Yeah, we haven't.
So,
Yeah.
A full-time driver will cost you, right in today's economy, probably $2,500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't need a dually. You can get away with a 2,500. Better if it's diesel.
Mm-hmm.
And a dumpster costs you $13,000
Okay.
hydraulic.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, you're spending money on the truck, but you can finance that, and then you got a driver. Okay, another employee you got to pay. But if you're spending $900 to $1,200 a dumpster a month,
Probably are.
you are bringing that down to almost 6,000 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do as many loads as you want to, because now you got a guy running around rehabs with the dumpster. Just it's just a matter of coordination. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna do demo tomorrow. Make sure you're there with the dumpster. And then they just demo it right into the dumpster, and then they go put it on the landfill, and then the guy is coming around, and it could be actually one of the same workers you have that drives the truck. It saves a little bit of money.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like that.
But that's how I did it, right? So I ran the math on the dumpsters, and I'm like, because one day I'm driving, I'm doing a private money tour. So I used to call it the money tour.
Mm-hmm.
Every time somebody said, I got some money to lend, I was like, sure, let's go get on my truck and let's drive around. I'm just going to show you what I got going on. And then you tell me whether you want to put money on these deals or not. And then after I took him I will show them some of my rentals first and tell them and talk about numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I got this for this. I put this much on rehab. It's cash flowing X. And this is the deal. And this is what I did. And then after they seen like 4 or 5 in the same area, most likely I'll be flipping another 4 or 5 in another area. And I will go to this other area and show them that. And I remember there was this one guy that he said, son, I got like 70,000 to loan. Is that something you can work with? And I was like, yeah, no big deal, man. Let's jump on the truck. Let's do the money tour, right? And I showed him, and I think I showed him that day like 13 rehabs. By the time I was done, he says, son, how are you doing all these deals? Like, where are you finding them? I said, well, I got my own. At the time, we were heavy on direct mail.
Mm-hmm.
We had our own printers. We knew how to make yellow letters and postcards, and we just were blanking up cities, basically. And I was like, that's how we do it. And then we get on the phone, we go see the property, we make offers, and if they want it, we'll take it. If not, no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't have 70, I got $1 million. How can we put it to work?
That was a good use of your day.
And I was like, what? And the other thing, Sam, so going back to social media, we started our YouTube channel. You're smarter than I am. I'll tell you why, because you're charging for that education. But because when I started, I had a warehouse where all the leftovers from our rehabs, we'll put them on the warehouse. Sometimes we'll buy little houses, like these little bitty houses, man. They were like little boxes, a 1-1, a 2-1, some that was 700 square feet. And we'll rehab those houses with leftovers, basically. And that's why we had the warehouse for, and that's where we had our printers. And it was like 3 or 4 of us in the warehouse. And somebody knocked on the door and said, is Ricardo here? And I opened the door, and I'm like, yeah, how can I help you? Like, they didn't know who I was, but they were looking for me. Well, so-and-so told me that you're doing a lot of rehabs, and they gave me your address. So here I am. Do you have, a few minutes so I can ask you some questions? All right, you're here already. Come on in, right? So a few minutes is like 3 hours.
Okay.
And then, the guy leaves, and then the next week another one shows up. And the following week, another one showed, and until Dennis came to me one day and said, bro, you got to quit receiving these people because they're picking our brains. And I don't mind sharing with them our knowledge and all that, but it's taking 2 or 3 hours of our time. And then we get home way too late. And we don't even know if they're taking action on it or not. And I said, well, Dennis, but I really don't want to help them. And we wouldn't have an education program, or we thought about it or anything like that. And he's like, why don't we do this, man? Why don't we open a YouTube channel and a podcast? And we put it on the channel, we put it on the podcast, and every time somebody knocks on the door, you just send them there. And I was like, well, that sounds good, but I have no idea how to do any of that. I don't know what kind of microphones I need. I don't know how to record it. anyhow, we had a guy on one of our crews that used to produce TV shows in Venezuela. You know, we got a lot of Venezuelan immigrants. I'm
Okay.
from Venezuela. I was born here, but I was raised there.
Okay.
And we found out that he was working in our team as a painter. And we're like, dude, you ran a TV, like a TV station. What are you doing painting? Well, I can't find a job as a TV guy. I was like, well, come on over. You may help us with our YouTube channel. So that was our first producer, basically.
And now look at you. You're this professional big wig podcaster, YouTuber, and you got a face made for TV.
Because I was too dumb to quit, brother. That was the reality of it, right? So we did
Mhm.
60 episodes. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just slapping videos on YouTube and uploading on the time we were using Blueberry. And man, it was costing me about $5,000 a month because his salary and all the gadgets that we had to buy to pay for the stuff. And one day I was like, dude, Dennis, this is costing us $5,000, man. Like I don't know that I want to continue doing this. Like I don't see the ROI. Like we haven't received anything out of it. And he's like, man, just give it another 3 months, dude. It's not like we're broke, you know. Like just give it another 3 months. We'll continue. If he, and this is the thing I love about Dennis. He was very objective, you know. Like he's an engineer, so the guy is like very on a box, and he's like, just give it 3 more months and see what happens. So after episode number 60, I get an email, and I think it's a scam because the guy's like, I've seen all your episodes on YouTube, and you guys are very consistent on your messaging. I have $1 million to deploy. How can I put it to you work with you guys? And I called Dennis, right? I was like, dude, come check this out. And he's looking, he's like, call him. Like we like little kids, man. Like I guess like calling your first lead ever, right? So we called the guy, and the guy was legit. And we're like, all right, Dennis, you were right. You know, we need to continue doing this. And YouTube is one of those things to where you put out content, you know, you hope for the best, but eventually the universe will reward you with things one way or another. How so you get into your side of social media. I get it. You started your channels, but when was it that you said, I'm gonna be a professional on these channels? Like because I just literally made that decision not long ago. Okay. It was like, I'm gonna take YouTube serious. Like, how does YouTube work? And I've been studying YouTube and you know how the algorithm changes and all. At what point after you started producing social media content? And by the way, you can let me ask you, how many followers across all your platforms?
Like 3.8 million about.
3.8 million, right? And the number one, which one has got the most?
TikTok, and then Facebook, then Instagram.
And Facebook is weird. Facebook, I would expect that Instagram to have more than Facebook.
Well, they're pretty close. So Facebook's like 750,000 and Instagram's like 650,000. And my TikTok or my Instagram was much bigger than my Facebook for the longest time. But my Instagram's been acting up recently. I've been in contact with Meta support. It's kind of flatlined, but Facebook, I get like 23, 24 million views a month on Facebook, which is just insane. Facebook's been the most popular one for the past 12 to 15 months. And that's kind of why you need to at least be on a couple. It's the same content, by the way. I'm sure you know that, but it's the same video that goes on TikTok, that goes on Instagram, that goes on Facebook, that goes on YouTube Shorts. So it's just a matter of getting it out there. But yeah, Instagram was my second biggest for the longest time. You're right about that, but I'm struggling on Instagram a little bit.
I literally just got an email from Facebook saying that I've been consistent and I've been doing this and that, and that I'm gonna be reaching a wider audience now.
Let's go.
Yeah. So, but that's like, that was like, have you ever been able to talk to somebody in Meta on the phone?
I have, yes, I have. Yeah, I have I've been able to a few different times because my Instagram, there's like glitches, like the insights will be wrong, or it'll post it'll like say the same videos posting 5 times. So there's a bug in there they're trying to figure out. But yes, I've been in contact with Meta support several times.
After we get the podcast, I'm gonna show you something I'm using that you may be able to take advantage of. So to go back to the question, because that my ADD kicked in, and I started going through the shiny object. When did you say I'm gonna be a professional on social media? Like I'm gonna take this social media serious, and I'm gonna grow these channels to whatever.
I would say about 2022, beginning of 2022. I've been posting for probably 18 months at that time and was getting consistent and really starting to get eyeballs, like, 50, 60,000 followers a month across multiple platforms. And that's when I introduced my first coaching program because people were asking about it.
Right.
And we were getting a ton of organic signups. Like 1 month, March of 2022, we got 98 organic signups from my community. And like 15 paid signups. Like we track where they came from. So, a large majority came just from organic. They like, know, and trust you. They've been following you for months, if not years, and they're much more likely to sign up. And at that time, the mentorship was like $6,000. So I was like a lot of money from no ad spend. So that's when I was like, there's something here. So I always took it seriously, but ever since then, I really, really took it
You
seriously.
looked at that and you said, "What am I doing flipping?"
Yes, well, that's why I don't do any. That's why I own half of the flipping company, but I don't know anything that goes on over there.
That's sort of what happened to me with the VA company. I had 100 VAs on my wholesaling operation. And we were pumping 50 contracts a month, roughly, nationwide. And of course, we weren't closing on all of those, right? We were closing on a percentage of that. But still, if you do 20 to 30 closings on that, it's pretty good.
Yeah, really good.
And my students, I did have some students, and they realized that the way I did business, you needed VAs. So they will come to me and said, "Hey, man, this is beautiful. Everything. The vision traction organizer I run on EOS. I don't know if you guys do that. That's mainly what I was teaching those guys. But there is a missing component. And I'm like, what's that? Your VAs." And I'm like, "Okay, can I get one of them?" And I'm like, "No, those are my VAs. You got to go get yours, train them like I show you, hire them and all that." And no, but you got them ready. Like I'd rather pay you so they can help me. And that's how my VA company started, and that's my main business today. And one day I had to make a decision whether I wanted to continue wholesaling or dedicate my time to my agency. And the question was very easy. I'd rather subcontract all my VAs to other people and me do nothing other than kind of like run the business and maybe think bigger on a bigger vision than be wholesaling and chasing deals here and there. And that's where we are right now. So even though I'm getting back into wholesaling because it's a bicycle. It's I just put the bicycle off to the side for a while. Um, and it's something I enjoy doing. But I needed a break because we get burned out. I
Yeah.
got burned out.
Mm-hmm.
I got burned out from flipping. I got burned out from wholesaling. I don't know that I will get burned out from an agency because I do have people kind of like managing the whole thing. Have you experienced burnouts?
Yeah, for sure. Me and you aren't smart enough to start our own business. We have to have someone knocking down our door for us to start that business, right? So it takes somebody yelling at us to start a business. But I think that's good. I think that means we're going off of what people want. But anyways, yeah, I definitely have burnout in the flipping company. I think subconsciously that's part of the reason why I shifted more towards the social media, the brand, and the education. Because I mean, I'm not kidding. I couldn't tell you one of the address of a house we flipped or wholesale in the past 3 years. Not one. Like I don't go to the meetings. I don't even do the quarterlies anymore. We follow EOS. We shifted it. We call our company Prosper Companies. All of our companies combined. So we changed it to Pros instead of EOS because it's nuanced with our multiple companies and how they work together. But it's very similar to EOS. I think subconsciously I was getting pretty burnt out at the flipping, the grind, the every month starting from scratch and everything. That was maybe one of the reasons why, looking back, why I went so hard into education. Because yeah, it's flipping companies, man. The margins, the overhead, the risk, I get why we do them, and they feed my rentals and they feed a lot of the community's rentals. But man, it's a big undertaking.
I believe real estate and this is a real estate podcast, okay? The real estate entrepreneurs. In my opinion, I believe real estate is a stepping stone to the next businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And often I see people that get stuck on real estate because of an identity. So they identify themselves as a real estate investor. Like, and I used to be that guy. Who are you? I'm a real estate investor. And you? I'm this, and that. Now I don't say that. I say I'm in sales and marketing. I just happen to do real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go through a phase of kind of like undoing that identity of the investor, and I've seen a lot of my friends that do real estate, because the real estate is a cycle, man. It goes up and down, up and down. And what happens if the economy completely crashes and nobody's buying houses because of whatever? Then what are you going to flip?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to wholesale to? Right? Like, there's all these questions that sometimes, people ask, and if a real estate investor cannot evolve into the next thing, they're going to get stuck there, and it's not going to be well unless they have a lot of money in the bank, which is usually not the case in our business. You know that very well, because
Oh gosh, you were right. You were way ahead of the game having all that money in the bank when the hurricane hit. But yeah, that's a cash poor business.
it is a cash poor business. Yes, we work with private money, which is what we encourage. I encourage you to go use hard money loans, because they're going to underwrite the deal. Because if they end up taking that deal, they're gonna have to. The deal has to be a deal, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now you're into the social media. You have a social media community, which I'm becoming a part of. Thank you for allowing me in, by the way. And and who knows what else comes after? Now that you have all these channels and all these views, it's like owning your own TV channel without having to buy it, which is mind blowing. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
way I look at it, right? What is next for you? Like what is next for you in the next, I don't know, 5 years? I don't want to like go to 10 years, but like in the next 5 years, where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. The big realization I came to a couple years ago is if I want to be worth 100 million or all of these other things, it's not going to come from my flipping company. It's going to come from a company or something that I haven't even thought of, been introduced to, or started. But I'm going to take what I've learned here and help me get to that next level. And the biggest focus I've had in the past 6 months and probably the next 2 years is going to be making my companies more community based and more reoccurring revenue based. Because my education company used to be pay me 6,500, 75, 8,500 bucks and you're in for life. And I end up losing money on that person if they stay in long enough, right? Because I'm delivering still. So I learned to create some more reoccurring revenue, because that those valves can be shut off pretty quickly. So
Oh yeah.
making all of my businesses work together and then getting a little bit of monthly reoccurring along the way to help subset or offset some of those ups and down cycles. So that's going to be a big focus, and it has been for me. And then I think in general, just looking for new business opportunities, whether that be buying businesses, acquiring businesses, or just really taking things maybe to a higher level. So I don't have a clear path. The clearest path I have right now is just getting more recurring revenue. And again, building these communities. Inside my community right now, I have the mentorship, but we just introduced a high level like mastermind inner circle that's separate, but it's to help people go from investors to entrepreneurs, because there's a big difference. So just
Oh
trying to
yeah.
go after some people that have more money and help them get to the next level is kind of going to be my focus.
Man, awesome. How can people get a hold of you, Sam?
Just go to whatever social media platform they're on. I'm on there. Look up Sam Primm or Faster Freedom. And the best way, we talked about Instagram. Instagram is the best communication app. So just DM me on Instagram. I am in my DMs, constantly checking things out and keeping an eye on things. So just DM me there. Sam Faster Freedom on Instagram.
Guys, don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. Go follow Sam. I just became a follower of a subscriber actually to his channel last week. He's got over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's got a bunch of cool content, all real estate related. And also, do you talk about marketing there? I didn't really.
A little bit. I'm still experimenting, but I'm not, I got a good following on YouTube, but I need to focus on a little bit more. So yeah, we talk about a lot of different things on YouTube. So just come enjoy the journey as to how I'm growing it and figuring it out.
Hey, that's what it's all about. We're not born with things figured out. We have to learn along the way. And but I love to learn from you, and that's why I'm joining your community. And And I know that it's going to help me grow my own business and my own social media presence. And, we just have to have an open mind to say, you know what, there's a guy that already went through that path. Why would I want to continue to figure it out on my own when he can go ahead and give me a bump and I can get there quicker? So, guys, find him on Instagram, send him a message. If you're brand new in the real estate game, he's educating, he's helping people all over the country. Feel free to send him a message on IG. That's where Instagram, that's where he's more active. On YouTube is more like you guys are more than welcome to date him for a while, okay? Just so you guys know, as soon as you date him, eventually you're gonna send him a message because you're gonna like what he's gonna say.
Date me, I'm a catch.
Yeah, it's a catch. So with that being said, you'll have a great day. Thank you, Sam.
Appreciate it.